Roger took a lot of heat for a decision he made in Outlander Season 7, Episode 15, but he ultimately saved the series from a disgusting book moment. This is an example of the Starz TV show diverting from Diana Gabaldon's books, but in this case, it was ultimately for the best. The subtle change in Roger's decision-making allowed his and Buck's story in 1739 to go in a different direction. Sure, Buck was pretty angry at Roger for it in this Outlander episode. However, the character's Season 7 story ended in a much more heartwarming way as a result. Earlier in Outlander Season 7, Roger and Buck went back in time in search of Jemmy, who Rob Cameron abducted. What they didn't know was that Rob had never actually taken Jem through the stones, but their trip to the 18th century was far from a waste of time. It turns out that Roger and Buck had an important destiny in the past. Roger had to save his father, Jeremiah, and send him back to his own time, and Buck essentially ensured his own, and his descendants' existence by causing his parents to meet. However, he doesn't discover they are his parents until Outlander Season 7, Episode 15. Roger was wrong to keep the truth about Buck's parents secret. Buck didn't know Jalis and Duncan were his parents. Roger and Buck in the 1700s in Outlander Season 7, Episode 9. When Roger saw Jalis Duncan and Dougal Mackenzie in 1739, he knew very well that they were Buck's parents. They would conceive Roger's ancestor some decades later when Claire first arrived in the 20th century. However, with Jalis arrested while pregnant and executed after Buck's birth, the infant was raised by another family. Buck had no idea who his parents were, so he didn't know when he met Jalis and, later, Dougal that they were his kin. Roger could have told him as much once they left Jalis' home in Outlander Season 7, but he chose not to. When Roger finally came clean about the identities of Buck's parents in Outlander Season 7, Episode 15, the latter man was enraged. That had been his one and only chance to meet them, but Roger robbed him of this. Roger's only explanation for keeping his secret was that he was worried about how Buck knowing this could inadvertently change events, perhaps keeping Buck, Roger, Jem, or any other people in their line from ever existing. This is a pretty poor excuse since Roger has seen repeated evidence that history can't be changed, only assured. Still, Roger's secret served the story. Roger's secret meant Buck didn't get his gross Outlander book moment. Buck meeting his mother wasn't as touching as you'd think. Roger didn't keep this secret for so long in the Outlander books. Buck discovered his parents' identities far earlier, and he was even able to meet them, knowing full well who they were to him. While this sounds like it would be a heartwarming moment, this isn't what author Diana Gabaldon had planned. Instead, Buck took advantage of meeting his mother for the first time by feeling her up. The pair kissed, and Buck allowed Jalis to guide his hand to her bare nether region. Later, when he reunited with Roger, Buck was all too pleased to talk about his sexual experience with his mother. Buck's case of Oedipus syndrome is nothing new in the world of literature, but that doesn't mean it isn't gross. Starz Outlander TV show hasn't shied away from sexually explicit scenes, but incest of this nature wouldn't have meshed well with the on-screen version of Roger and Buck's adventure in 1739. The series was better off skipping over this entirely by having Roger keep this secret until after it was too late for Buck to see Jalis and Dougal again. It may have been unfair for Roger to keep such a thing from his kin, but at least he saved him from a pretty gross interaction. Buck's Outlander Season 7 story is much more heartwarming. Roger's secret kept the whole situation more wholesome. Buck and Roger in Outlander Season 7, Episode 10. After Buck had some time to cool off in Outlander Season 7, Episode 15, he forgave Roger. However, he took advantage of the opportunity to send his mother a letter, stating that he couldn't stand never having a chance for some closure. He reminded Roger that he could do nothing to make himself no longer exist, as evidenced by the fact that their presence in 1739 had actually caused Jalis and Dougal to meet, thus ensuring his existence. Buck then gave a touching speech about how, as his descendants, Roger and Jem are as good as his own sons, and he was dedicated to protecting their family. This was a far more touching conclusion for this character's adventure in 1739 than the version in which he feels up his own mother. Buck and Roger have established a close bond in Outlander, and it's far better that it is not tainted by Roger's disgust over Buck's actions. While significant book changes aren't typically preferred, this is an example of the exception. Buck's story was fine for the Outlander books, though certainly uncomfortable, but it was far better for the on-screen version to take a different route, and it was all thanks to Roger's big secret.